What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the 425. You can find me on Twitter at Coach Torres _. You can find Jeremy on Twitter at Coach Miller06. Took a little brief hiatus there over the course of bowl season, and Jeremy and I are now hitting the ground running with draft season, baby. We're real
Yep,
excited
draft
over here.
season.
Real excited over here at the 425. This is what it's all about. We're not a college football entity. We're not a college football podcast. We are a draft service, if you will. Last year, we put together a 27,000 piece NFL draft manual, and that is what we are aspiring to do again this year, bigger and better with both of our combined efforts on it. So, yeah, we have Cody producing, and we're going to jump into some prospects that we're excited to watch some more film on. So probably a good handful of guys that, are not mainstream. They're not going to be in like Mel Kiper's top 10 mock drafts or player rankings or anything like that. I do have a couple high end guys on here, just dudes that you just didn't see a lot during the season. And then there's a couple guys you haven't heard of. I have a couple lower level guys on my list. I'm not sure what Jeremy's got. But we're just going to throw some names out there that we're excited to talk about going forward, get our feet wet with this podcast again. And then starting next week, we're bringing you guys some more content. So, Jeremy, let's start on offense, man. Who are some quarterbacks that you're excited to watch some more film on?
I really want to watch some more film on Jaron Hall.
Oh, you
Because
stole
I
my number
just
two, dog. I had Jaron Hall, too.
just because I haven't watched a lot of film on him, and that system tends to breed quarterbacks, and with Zach Wilson's failure, it kind of makes me wonder about if that system is a system like that provides system quarterbacks like the air raid.
Yeah, BYU. We're
Or
talking BYU, of course.
Yeah, and so I'm really interested to watch his tape. Who's somebody that you're interested in jumping into?
Yeah, I mean, I had Hall on my list as well. I think a theme with me is there's a good handful of West Coast guys, just because you're in Texas, but I'm in
Pac-12 at
Michigan,
night,
so
yeah.
yeah. So there's just less. Like I've gone out of my way to watch Jaron Hall just a little bit, but I only
Yeah,
caught two BYU games this year, and that's
yeah,
watching football, not watching film. And there's obviously two very different things there. So
yeah,
this is one of the guys that I'm excited to watch and do a serious deep dive on. Um, and this is one of the few high end guys that I have, and it's Anthony Richardson from Florida, the Florida quarterback who is a
yeah,
redshirt sophomore. Because the traits are just so enticing, and like his upside and his ceiling is, number one overall pick worthy. He's obviously not that right now. He's very inconsistent. Um,
yeah.
but he's a guy that I really want to dive into and, see the things like, okay, is that something that's going to be developed? Is this a flash in the pan? Is he all traits? What's going on here? Like, is this dude going to be worthy of a top 10 pick based off of projection, or not?
Yeah, I left him off my list just because I had already watched a ton of him during the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of familiar with the things I like about him already, and the things that I kind of think he needs to work on. Obviously, I can tell why you're enticed, because that is, I would think, with the Lions' second first round pick, he might be an option at that
Mm-hmm.
position if he's there.
He could be.
So
He could be.
I'm
And the
kind of,
Lions might be taking quarterback. We'll see.
yeah. Another guy on my list is, I mean, I watch as much Big Ten football as I can, while trying to stay focused on the Southern states
Mm-hmm.
and all the other things that we focus on anyways. But I kind of want to watch some more film of Aiden O'Connell. I
For sure.
just There's I saw a lot from him in the last 2 weeks of the season, and I kind of want to watch the beginning of the season and some of last year, just to
Get the
see,
whole picture.
yeah, see why they weren't more successful to start the year, and why it took them stringing a couple wins at the end of the year to get to where to the point that they were. So I kind of want to watch that. So he's definitely one of my quarterbacks that I want to watch more film on.
Yeah, the only other guy I threw down on my list is, a fringe day three guy, and that's Tommy DeVito of Illinois, who had a very efficient year. Has a decent arm, pretty good accuracy, and I just want he's on that level. Like, okay, can you play ball? Or
Yeah,
did you have a good year at a good program? So,
yeah,
again, we're not talking top 10 guys here, but he's somebody that I'm interested in. He's piqued my interest. So, we'll move on to running back. I have four names here. Two of them reside in the state of Texas, so I'll just rattle them both off. That is Devin Achane and Kendre Miller. Achane of Texas A&M and Miller of the TCU Horned Frogs. So Kendre's stats were fantastic and quietly had an incredible year rushing the football. Sprained his MCL against Michigan in the semifinals. And then you look at Achane, who, I mean, shit, Jeremy, what's he going to run at the combine, man? Like, he's one of those athletic freak guys where,
yeah. I'd say 4.3, 4.4, and I mean, he was literally the only reason that the Aggies were winning.
the
He
only off
carried
all
that
their
team.
offense,
Yeah,
right? Like,
he carried them on their back. He's probably going to be a top three back for me, just because I watched a lot of SEC shit.
yeah, I've seen
And
him
so
talk to by a couple people
yeah,
already.
yeah, and I can definitely see why he piqued your interest. A couple guys on my list, or so did you want to get into anything on yeah, we kind of got it over everything with him. I want to watch more um I want to watch more Tank Bigsby
For sure.
because I just didn't watch a lot of Auburn football because they weren't very good.
Because they was
And but
cheeks. No, I didn't see him once this
yeah,
year.
but
A little bit of the Penn State game. That's it.
he was somebody that I noticed last year, and I was like, oh, like he's fun to watch run the football.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in watching him. And then I had another name. Um,
While you think of that, the other two I have were going to be Dwayne McBride out of UAB, who, again, quietly had one of the top
yeah,
rushing seasons in the country. And then the last guy I threw on here because he's a hometown boy out of Detroit, Michigan, CMU, Central Michigan, Chippewa. That's Lou Nichols. He led the nation in rushing last year in 2021. So had a bit of a down year and believe he is injured a little bit this year, but he's a dude that I'm definitely excited to see what level of prospect he is.
yeah, and another guy that I want to watch. A couple guys. Sean Tucker from Syracuse.
Yep, he was my OLI outside looking in.
And then I also want to take a look at Eric Gray because I didn't really like some of the stuff I saw from him. He shared the ball at OU this year.
Mm-hmm.
Highly touted former five-star prospect that committed to Tennessee and played a couple of years there
Yep.
before transferring. I just want to see you're not a five-star coming out of high school for no reason. So I kind of want to see what he's got.
Right. I'm with you there, man. Moving on to tight end. The way I listed these positions, we'll go tight end, offensive line, defensive line, and I had a hard time putting together these three lists here. So,
Yeah, no, this is a very tough list. For me,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
didn't want to list high name prospects because we tried to stay away from it, but I gotta admit one of the big names that I put on here is Dalton Kincaid.
Mhm.
And so he's a known name. Most of you already know what he did at Utah. He was their main pass catcher there this year with them not having a lot of outside weapons.
Yep.
So Cam Rising really looked at him a lot.
Hmm.
But for most of the season, I've kind of had May in my head. I've kind of had Mayer and Washington as my top two tight ends.
Yeah,
And I know,
deservedly
and
so.
as much as I like Dalton Kincaid, like I just for whatever reason I've always had him as like that third guy, and I kind of want to see if he can be my number two or even my number one. So I kind of
Yeah,
want to watch more film on him and see if he can jump any of those two guys.
for sure, man. I listed three guys. Two of them play for Utah, and so yeah, Dalton Kincaid and the guy who he replaced as starter week 1 this year, which is Brent Keith, I believe is how you say his name.
Yeah,
So, and both of them have been there for years. And, Utah is a place where guys will stay 4, 5, 6 years. You don't have a lot of early exits from there because they develop them. So, two dudes that I'm really interested to see what level of pass catcher they are. Obviously, Keith will have to go back on. And then the other name, just because he's got a frame and I saw bits and pieces of him over the last couple years, is Penn State tight end Brenton Strange. So
yeah,
he's got arms, he's got a good frame, and he's one of those dudes that you might be able to get day 3 and turn into a tight end 2 or even a starter down the road. So,
yeah,
offensive line,
and
what are you thinking?
well, one more tight end for me that I'd really
Yeah.
like to get into, and I haven't heard that he's officially declared or if he decided to go back to school, but Will Mallory is a name from
Okay.
Miami. So I
Yep.
apologize if he did announce that he's coming back. I haven't seen it,
I
and
haven't
I've
seen
checked.
anything on him, and it's hard to tell
Um,
with Miami right now too. A lot of new
yeah,
championship.
so if I'm hoping he comes out so I can watch some Will Mallory because I've known about him since he was a high school prospect
Hmm.
and I know I've watched a few Miami games over the years and he's always been like, oh, sure and steady, and I want to see like how good of a prospect he really is.
Yeah, he's played a lot of snaps for them, and that was a highly Michigan recruited the shit out of him coming out of high school. So yeah, we've been around familiar with him for a while. I'm going to start offensive line. I got 3 names here. The third one was
Yeah,
kind of a stretch, but the number one guy who anybody who's been watching FCS the last couple weeks or is even on Twitter, it's going to be Cody Mauch, the left tackle for North Dakota State.
yeah,
The dude is just a massive ginger with huge hair, and he's a North Dakota State left tackle, man. He's nasty. Like
yeah,
that one, it's gonna be fun to do a deep dive on. And then also Cooper Beebe out of Kansas State, who you're
yeah,
probably familiar with.
yeah. He's a really good prospect. I'm a big fan of his. So one name I've got on my list, just because this is the one where I'm gonna name a few more players that are like high named, just because offensive line is one of the positions that I don't really scout during the year.
Yeah,
I get enticed with like
it's hard.
corners and linebackers
Offensive
and
line takes a lot of attention and focus.
yeah. So one of the guys that I haven't really watched a lot is Osiris Torrance out of Florida.
Hmm.
A lot of people I've seen some people that they have him as offensive guard one.
I've seen that a lot
So
on Twitter.
and so I've been trying. I want to watch him and see how he compares um, to what I've seen from other teams that I like this year. He's definitely on my list. And Jalen Duncan from Maryland, I want to watch his tape as an offensive
Okay.
tackle.
Yeah,
Um,
we could have just said all of the eligible Maryland O linemen because early in the year they were playing
yeah,
real well as a unit, anyways.
yeah. Do you have any other offensive linemen that you're excited to get in on?
No, we'll just leave it at those two. We got about 10 minutes here, so we'll move on to defensive linemen, and that's a name I was just going over. So at the beginning of the year, I made a list of all the eligible guys, and in preparation for this, I was just scanning that and caught a name that I loved the tape last year, and I can't wait to revisit it in a year later and see if I was accurate last year and obviously what he did this year. And that is Will McDonald of Iowa State.
No, yeah. Will McDonald is a ton of fun.
Yeah. And
I
don't,
love
and
him.
if I'm not mistaken, like he's kind of versatile, right? Like he could maybe play a 5 tech or a 4-eye and maybe a 3.
That's how that's how Iowa State used him was as a 5 tech and
Okay.
that 3 down.
So he was
Well,
playing defensive end in their 3-3-5.
he basically played head up and then he 2 gapped a lot for them.
Okay.
And then he moved down the line some. He's a really fun prospect. I would love putting him in as like a. I think he could play probably 3 or 1, just
Right.
from what I've seen of
Yeah.
him
He's
over the
versatile.
years.
He's a defensive
Yeah,
lineman. He's got hands.
yeah.
How about you, DL?
DL, man, I am. Let me find my list of defensive linemen.
The only other guy that I had listed because I really have not watched him this year, is Siaki Ika, the Baylor kid.
Oh yeah,
He's
I haven't
a
watched a
high end,
ton of him,
but
but I know he's one of those high end guys
yeah, for
that
sure.
we've mentioned before.
One of the
Um,
let's see, I got 4 of them here. Yeah.
I really want to watch Jalen Redmond from Oklahoma more.
Okay.
I just he had
That's a deep
that
cut.
that defense was too that defense was a mess this year, and they had some talented players. So it's really interesting to see why they haven't been better.
Mhm.
And then another guy that I want to watch is from Florida, Gervon Dexter.
Yep.
Uh,
He just declared the other day, I believe, officially.
yeah, so I want to watch some more of his tape. Yeah, interior defensive line's a little harder, but
Yeah, it's not very
for
deep
me,
this year either,
no,
from
it's not.
everything I've seen.
Yeah,
Moving on to edge, this is another one of my big names, and that's going to be Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech, who right now is trending top 10 prospect.
I'm
Um,
huge on him. I'm a huge fan of his.
yeah, guns
Like,
up.
yeah,
Not that
yeah.
you're a guns up guy, but give
No, but I loved watching him play this year.
yeah, he's got the freak frame and everything that goes along with that. And then in preparation for this video, the last time you and I talked about this stuff, as an example, you used Andre Carter, the edge out of Army, who is a
Yeah.
very interesting case because I don't believe that's been settled or not, whether he is going to go to the draft or if he has to complete his 2 years of service.
No, they announced they made an amendment to the rule to
Yeah.
where now the military guys can explore their NFL opportunities if they're like real opportunities
Yeah.
before they complete their service. So he
Yeah.
can
Like
definitely,
Keenan Reynolds,
yeah. So that
Kent
was
Steelman
announced a
back in the
few
day.
weeks ago, and so Carter is free to pursue the NFL
Well, I'm free to
first.
watch his tape then. How about you, man?
Yeah.
Who you got at edge?
Man, I wish I watched more Notre Dame this year, but I didn't, and I really want to watch more Isaiah Foskey because
Noski? Yeah, dude.
I've got Tyree Wilson like firmly ahead of him, and I don't
Mhm.
know if I should have it that way or not.
Foskey's nice, man. I think they're a
I
little
don't
bit
know if
different
it's just
built,
because,
but
yeah, and but see, that's my thing. It's like from what I've seen and what I've watched of Notre Dame, Foskey is like, to me, in my mind, he's a stand-up edge. Like, needs
yeah,
to play in a 2-4-5 or a 3-4 system.
yeah. He's a pass
And
rusher.
Tyree Wilson, for me, like from what I've watched this year, and I've watched a lot of him because he's a fan favorite of mine in this draft class.
Hmm.
I think he can play. I think he can play stand up edge. I think he can put his hand in his dirt and be a full time 5 technique, 7 technique in a 4-3 system.
Yeah.
I think that he can. I think you can put him on as a 3 technique and pass rushing situations. Like, I
Damn.
think
Okay.
he's that versatile.
Okay.
I think he carries his weight well and he's physical.
Hmm.
What's another edge for you that you're looking into?
That's it on edge, man. For me, I'm ready to move on to backer if you are.
Yeah, that's fine. We can move into backer.
I got 3 names. I'm just gonna get everything I got to say about it because we're up against the clock here. Number 1 is D Winters of TCU because he kicked Michigan's ass in the semifinal. He's just all
Yeah,
over the field. Number 2 is going to be Anthony Orgy. There's an orgy in this podcast. The Vanderbilt linebacker who I believe led the nation in tackles. If he didn't, he was like top 3, top 5.
yeah,
So that's some tape I got to watch. Obviously, I watched 0 seconds of Vanderbilt this year. And
yeah,
the third name I'm going to list is Jacob Dobbs, who is a linebacker out of Holy Cross FCS, who they made it to the quarterfinals, I believe, this year and were eliminated by South Dakota State. But Jacob Dobbs is a graduate of Warren De La Salle, who has been the best football program in the state of Michigan for the last half decade or so. Had a preferred walk-on to Michigan at the time. I was very confused why he didn't take it because he was a stud. But went to Holy Cross, and he's been a baller for them ever since. And he even made Bruce Feldman's freak list. He was the top 50 freak athlete in the country this year. So I'm excited to check out his tape.
yeah. One guy for me he was a highly rated prospect coming out, but again, haven't watched a lot of Auburn tape, is Owen Papou.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
just want to see him and kind of see where I pronounce that name wrong. So I'm
I think it's
sorry if he,
Papoe, but bro, he's one
yeah,
of them dudes that's been on like Madden mock draft classes for the last like
yeah,
4 years. It feels like.
yeah,
So yeah, you're right. The former 5-star. That it's like, okay, have you been good? What's going on?
yeah. And then another guy that I mean, he's at the top of at a lot of he's in the top five of a lot of people's LBs right now. But I'm a little worried about his playing weight. So I want to kind of see if I can ease my concerns, and that's Jack Campbell out of Iowa.
Oh, playing weight
Yeah,
concerns, Jack
I'm
Campbell. All right.
yeah, I'm big. I liked his film and I liked what he's done for them in that defense
Yeah.
for 2 years.
Hmm.
But those light linebackers, they some of them have some issues in the league. I know Van Der Esch has been beaten up,
Right.
and he's probably a very similar player to Van Der Esch,
Off the
at
top of
least
my
his
head, yeah,
prospects.
yeah, certainly. And Campbell's been all Big Ten, probably an All American team in there.
Yeah,
Tackling machine, but that doesn't always translate. So
yeah.
um, we got about 5 minutes left here. So
DBs.
DBs, I got three. I got one big name because from everything I've seen so far, I just love the style and the attitude and the aesthetics of it, and that's Devin Witherspoon out of
Yes,
Illinois.
he was on my list too. Yeah,
Yeah, like that one's gonna be
yeah.
fun. Gonna stay in the Big Ten here. I don't know if he's declared what he's doing yet, but that's gonna be Cooper DeJean out of Iowa.
Okay.
We're talking white cornerbacks here, Jeremy, and it has to be paid attention to. If he, I don't even know. I probably shouldn't have said anything about race. He could be mixed like myself, so who knows? And then the other name is Josh DeBerry out of Boston
Okay.
College, who
Yeah.
again Warren De La Salle grad. Shout out to James Light and the Pilots, but yeah, he was a 3-star prospect. Ended up at BC, and he's played some really good ball for them out there.
Okay. Yeah. He's on my list for sure. That I haven't watched yet. For me, corners, I've got um, again, didn't watch a lot of South Carolina this year. Maybe that was a mistake on my part, but I mean, there's a lot of other games that
They came
on.
on late. They came on late.
But I'm real interested in Cam Smith, the
Hmm.
corner out of South Carolina. I've seen a lot of draft buzz around him, but I think he's a really good player. And a name that I wasn't real familiar with, he kind of burst on the scene this year under Dan Lanning at Oregon, but Christian Gonzalez,
Yep.
I'm real excited to watch some more of his tape since,
Yeah.
again, West Coast, it's kind of hard to watch Pac-12 in real time.
No, it
Most of
really
the
is.
time, most of the time when I watch a Pac-12 after dark, it's like I've had quite a few drinks, and
No, yeah, you're
it's
not.
not yeah
Yeah, you're not sober. You're inebriated in some form, and yeah, it's a on in the background noise. And even yeah, it's the West Coast thing is real. And yeah, Christian Gonzalez is getting a lot of first round buzz. So
yeah
naming off my three safeties here real quick. One more big time name that I haven't done. Excuse me. I've seen highlights. I watched a couple of their games, obviously, this year. Haven't watched the film yet on Brian Branch, Alabama safety,
yeah
who's getting some top half of the first round nods right now.
yeah.
So I'm gonna see if that hype is real. Another
Yeah, that's
guy
interesting. Yeah, his rise is kind of surprising because
came out of nowhere too,
Jordan Battle was the one getting all the press hype. So I'm definitely with you on Branch.
and I was big on Battle last year too.
Yeah,
Like Battle was gonna be safety 3, maybe 4 for me at worst
yeah,
until he decided to go back to school. Another one for me is Sidney Brown, the Illinois safety, who is just a walking 6-pack and
yeah,
a thumper. So I'm excited to
yeah,
see if he's more than just a run stop, thumping kind of guy. Even though he
yeah,
did have, believe he led the Big Ten in interceptions this year. And then the other name is, I was digging down deep for this one. It's going to be whether or not he's a day 3 prospect, and can he be more than just like that college strong safety type? And he did have some injuries this year, but that's Xavier Henderson, the strong safety from MSU.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep, that makes sense.
All right,
I can
what you got?
definitely see why you're getting there. For me, I've got Chris Smith from Georgia, which is a big name, but at the
Oh
same
yeah,
time, like I haven't watched a ton of film on him. Usually, when I'm watching Georgia, I'm sucked into watching their linebacker play and
yeah,
Keely Ringo and Jalen Carter because
yeah.
I'm a
I mean,
I'm
he's
a
a big name, but he's not compared to those guys.
yeah.
Someone like me or
So
you would know him, but most draft folks aren't.
yeah, I've got to watch him, and then another guy that I really I don't he hasn't announced whether he's coming out yet or not. But one name that I've got is damn it, Jeremy Bud Clark from TCU.
Okay,
Um,
yeah.
he was a kid I watched out of high school just because Texas was in on him, so I kind of
Mhm.
paid attention to his tape. And then he chose TCU. I don't know how hard Texas pushed, but that's neither here nor there.
Certainly.
But he's always really flashed to me as a player for them, and the light bulb really switched, and he played really phenomenal this year for them.
Mhm.
And so I want to watch more of his tape. And then the last
All
guy
right.
I got
Got about 10
is
seconds.
Rashad Torrance from Florida. I just
I
want to
got two
watch.
Torrances in Florida.
Yeah,
Damn. All right, man. So yeah, that was just a brief little no name guys, definitely that y'all haven't heard of, that Jeremy and I are looking to deep dive into. Appreciate you guys listening, checking us out on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram at 425 Podcast. Going forward, we will be bringing you 2 short episodes a week. We'll do one based on offensive players, one based on defensive players. So Jeremy and I are going to discuss where we're going to start that. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and welcoming us into 2023 with y'all. And we'll see you next week.
later.
But that's how I am.